The deep black of space stretched forever, dotted with quiet stars. Captain Daniel Cross stood at the wide window of the United Coalition starship Aurora. Beyond the glass lay the Zithyaris Empire, a vast alien civilization no human had ever entered as an official guest. Daniel adjusted his uniform jacket, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. He was not only a soldier, he was also a diplomat now. After years of small conflicts and silent standoffs, Earth had decided to try peace. The Queen of the Zithyaris had sent an invitation herself. Daniel's mission was simple on paper: travel to the capital world of Zytheria Prime and sign a treaty of understanding. Yet he knew nothing about this empire except rumors. Whispers of their power, their strange customs, their strict sense of order. Inside the Aurora, the crew moved quietly, aware of the stakes. They passed glowing consoles and holographic displays showing the path to the alien world. Daniel's second-in-command, Lieutenant Reyes, approached. "Captain," she said softly, "the Queen's envoys are on the comm. They request you review the ceremonial protocol again." Daniel forced a calm smile. "I've read it 3 times, Lieutenant. I'll follow their customs. We're guests in their world." Reyes nodded, but her eyes held worry. "Just be careful. Their empire is older than our civilization. They play a very long game." The Aurora dropped out of faster-than-light travel and the viewport filled with a stunning sight. Zytheria Prime rotated slowly, wrapped in golden clouds and oceans that shimmered like liquid silver. Floating above it were orbital towers shaped like crystal spires, each larger than a human city. Ships of alien design moved in quiet formation, each resembling living creatures more than machines. A low hum filled the air as the ship's translator began receiving messages. Symbols danced across the display screens. The Zithyaris greeting code. Daniel inhaled deeply. "Open a channel," he ordered. "This is Captain Daniel Cross of the United Coalition. We come in peace." The reply arrived in a chorus of musical tones that the translator turned into words. "Welcome, Captain Cross, the Queen awaits." Soon after, the Aurora docked with a docking platform carved from a single block of translucent stone. Alien guards in glimmering armor guided him and his small delegation into a long corridor, where the walls pulsed with soft blue light. Daniel noticed there were no windows, only moving patterns like living murals. They entered the royal audience hall. Daniel's first impression was of scale. The chamber was vast, the ceiling vanishing into mist. Giant pillars curved like the roots of ancient trees. At the far end, on a throne of pale crystal, sat Queen Zirana. Her features were elegant but alien, tall, angular, with skin the color of polished copper and hair that moved like fine threads in water. Around her stood attendants and guards, all watching the human visitors with unreadable expressions. Daniel bowed, following the custom he had studied. "Your Majesty, I bring greetings from Earth and the hope of peace between our peoples." The Queen's voice echoed across the hall, deep and resonant. "Captain Cross, humanity grows bold. Few have entered our world. Fewer still have stood before our throne." Daniel kept his composure. "We seek mutual understanding. We do not come to conquer or exploit." The Queen tilted her head slightly. "Words are easy. Bonds are harder." She gestured and an attendant stepped forward, holding a silver staff topped with a glowing crystal. "Our empire values commitment above all. That is why I make you this offer." The hall grew silent. Daniel sensed tension ripple through the alien crowd. "My daughter, Princess Althea," the Queen continued, "is of age to form a union. You will take her as your wife." For a heartbeat, Daniel thought he had misheard the translator. "Your Majesty, you mean as an alliance?" "Yes," the Queen said firmly. "A bond between your species and mine. Through marriage, the Zithyaris and humanity shall be bound as one. It is our ancient way." Daniel's mouth went dry. He glanced at Lieutenant Reyes, who stood frozen beside him. He had expected a treaty, perhaps an exchange of ambassadors, but not this. Yet in the Queen's voice there was no room for refusal. Althea herself stepped forward from behind the throne. She was younger than he expected, her features softer than her mother's, with pale violet skin and bright eyes like shards of amethyst. She wore a flowing garment of woven light. She said nothing, only bowed slightly. Daniel's training took over. "Your Majesty, I am honored," he said carefully. "But such a decision cannot be made without enough." The Queen rose, her height towering over all in the hall. "It is decided. Tomorrow you and my daughter will stand together before the High Council. This will seal our alliance." Daniel felt every eye upon him. Refusing now could insult the queen and risk war. Accepting would bind him personally to an alien princess he had never met until this moment. "I understand," he said finally, keeping his voice steady. "I will honor your customs, but I must also consult with my people." The queen's eyes softened slightly, but her voice stayed firm. "Consult if you wish. The order stands." The audience ended. Daniel and his team were escorted to a guest wing inside the palace. The walls glowed with gentle colors, and the air smelled faintly of strange flowers. Daniel stood at the balcony overlooking the city below. Towers of crystal stretched for miles, and flying creatures like silver kites glided between them. Lieutenant Reyes joined him. "Sir, this is unprecedented. We can't agree to something like this without Earth's approval." Daniel rubbed his forehead. "I know, but if we offend them, we could lose everything. The treaty, the chance at peace." Later, a message arrived inviting him to the royal gardens to meet the princess privately. He accepted. The gardens were unlike anything he had seen. Plants grew in spirals of light, and fountains released streams of liquid that changed color as they fell. Princess Althea stood among the glowing flowers, her hands clasped before her. She looked at him not with hostility but with curiosity. "Captain Cross," she said softly. Her voice had a musical quality, and the translator barely needed to alter it. "I apologize for my mother's order. This is our tradition, but it is not my wish to force you." Daniel blinked. "You speak English?" "I learned your language from your transmissions," Althea said. "I wanted to understand your people." She hesitated. "I do not want to be a pawn either. But perhaps we can use this arrangement to build something better. Knowledge, understanding, even friendship." Daniel studied her face. There was intelligence and kindness in her eyes. She was not what he had expected. "I didn't come here to get married," he said carefully. "But I did come here to find peace. Maybe we can start there." She gave a small smile. "That would please me." As they talked, Daniel noticed how she seemed different from the stiff, formal aliens he had met earlier. She asked questions about Earth, about oceans and forests, about music. She spoke of her own work in the Royal Science Academies, studying faster than light physics and the ethics of interstellar contact. For a moment, he forgot the political trap they were both in, but as they walked back toward the palace, Daniel saw shadows moving among the trees, alien guards whispering to each other. He realized how dangerous the situation was. If he made one wrong move, the alliance could shatter before it began. That night, alone in his chamber, Daniel recorded a private message for Earth. "This is Captain Daniel Cross," he said quietly. "The Zitherus Queen has ordered me to marry her daughter as part of a treaty. I cannot refuse without risking war, but I sense unrest here. Something is not as it seems." He shut off the recorder and stared at the alien night sky through his window. He could see the glimmer of distant orbital ships, their lights moving like slow fireflies. Tomorrow he would stand before the High Council with Princess Althea at his side. The future of two civilizations rested on what happened next. The morning light of Zetheria Prime did not come from a single sun. It filtered through several small satellites that reflected gold and blue rays across the sky. Captain Daniel Cross awoke in his guest chamber, his heart heavy with thoughts of the day ahead. Today he would stand beside Princess Althea before the High Council, a ceremony that could bind two civilizations together. He walked to the window. The city below glistened like frozen light. Towers curved toward each other like the petals of a massive flower. Hovering platforms carried citizens to and fro. In the distance he saw the royal gardens where he had spoken to Althea the night before. That small meeting had given him some hope. She was not an enemy. She was a person, thoughtful and curious, just like him. Lieutenant Reyes entered quietly. "Captain, the Queen has sent formal attire for you, and a guard will escort you to the Hall of Harmony in 1 hour." Daniel nodded. "Thank you. Make sure our diplomatic channel stays open. If anything goes wrong, Earth needs to know." He dressed in the formal robes provided, a shimmering fabric of blue and silver decorated with geometric symbols representing unity. He found it heavy and strange, but wore it anyway. This was not his world. He had to respect their customs. Meeting again, the Hall of Harmony stood at the heart of the palace. Its walls were made of living crystal that changed color with the mood of the room. As Daniel entered, the air smelled of sweet minerals, and the floor pulsed with soft light under his feet. Hundreds of alien dignitaries sat in rising rows, their eyes fixed on the center platform where the ceremony would take place. Princess Althea was already there. She wore a garment W. The underground streets of Zytheria Prime were quiet, almost eerily so as Captain Daniel Cross and Princess Althea moved carefully through the tunnels. The glow from bioluminescent plants lit their path, painting the walls in soft blues and greens. Despite the strange beauty, Daniel's senses were alert. Danger was never far in the wake of the palace bombing. "Are you sure this data terminal is secure?" Daniel asked, his hand resting on the edge of his energy baton. Althea nodded. "Yes. It's one of the oldest and least observed parts of the lower city. Only a few trusted scientists know how to access it." They reached a steel and crystal doorway embedded into the wall. Althea tapped a sequence of symbols and the door slid open soundlessly. Inside, the room hummed with activity. Screens displayed streams of alien codes and holographic maps of the city. "This is where we can see who coordinated the attack," Althea whispered. "The signals were sent from this sector. Look here." She pointed to a glowing grid showing encrypted messages moving from one location to another. Daniel leaned in. "Can you trace the source?" "Yes, but it's complicated," Althea said. "The orders come from a hidden network within the military itself. Someone is trying very hard to hide it." Daniel frowned. "Then we need to go to the source and see for ourselves." The hidden laboratory Althea led him through twisting tunnels that opened into a massive chamber beneath the city. The air smelled faintly metallic. Rows of machines hummed softly, their lights blinking in rhythmic patterns. In the center of the room, holographic projections displayed star charts and fleet movements, evidence of a larger conspiracy. "This lab belongs to the Department of Advanced Security," Althea explained. "Normally only high-ranking officers and scientists can enter. Someone is using it for secret purposes." As they explored, Daniel noticed movement near the far wall. Shadows shifted and a figure stepped forward, an alien guard who had not seen them yet. Daniel grabbed Althea's arm. "Stay behind me." The figure activated a beam, but Daniel ducked and rolled to the side, his training kicking in. He tapped the guard's wrist device with his baton, sending a harmless but disabling electric pulse. The guard collapsed unconscious. "Nice work," Althea said, wide-eyed. "You're fast." "I've had practice," Daniel replied. "Now let's see what they're hiding." The conspiracy unveiled. They approached a central console. Althea tapped a panel, bypassing multiple security protocols. Data flowed across the holograms, secret messages, fleet coordinates, and encrypted orders to several outposts surrounding Zytheria Prime. Daniel studied the screens. "This is more than sabotage. Someone is planning a strike outside the city. They might even target Earth." Althea nodded gravely. "I feared as much. The messages are signed with Commander Vexthar's codes." Daniel's eyes widened. "The Queen's advisor?" "Yes," Althea said. "He believes humans cannot be trusted. He wants to start a war between our species before the alliance can even form." Daniel ran a hand over his face. "We need proof. Then we take it straight to the Queen." Althea glanced at him, concerned. "It won't be that simple. If Thar discovers us, he will not hesitate to strike." A narrow escape as they collected evidence. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the lab. Red lights flashed and doors began to seal automatically. "They've detected us," Althea exclaimed. Daniel grabbed her hand. "Follow me. Stay close." They sprinted through the corridors, the air vibrating with the sound of locking mechanisms. Security drones appeared ahead, small floating machines armed with energy beams. Daniel kicked one aside and used his baton to disable another. Althea stayed behind him, agile and alert. Finally, they reached a maintenance shaft. Althea pressed a hidden panel and the floor opened to reveal a chute. "This will take us to the lower canals." "Quick, in." Daniel hesitated. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely. It's faster than any main exit." They slid into the chute, descending into the shadowed waterways beneath the city. The water glimmered faintly with bioluminescent algae. Daniel helped Althea navigate across narrow bridges and floating platforms. Above them, the distant sounds of search parties echoed. Hidden allies after several tense minutes. They arrived at a secluded chamber beneath the city, where a group of trusted scientists and junior officers waited. Althea greeted them quietly. "We have proof of Vexthar's plan." The scientists examined the data and murmured among themselves. "This is serious," one said. "He intends to mobilize the fleet against Earth unless the Queen steps down." Daniel's mind raced. "We need to warn her immediately." And fast. One of the officers shook his head. We can't go through the main corridors. Thar controls them. We need another way. Althea smiled faintly. There's an old transport tunnel that leads directly beneath the palace. It's mostly unused. I know it well, Daniel nodded. Then let's move. We can't waste any more time. Tension in the palace, above them. In the royal audience hall, Queen Zirana had begun to question the loyalty of her military council. Whispers of rebellion had reached her ears. She frowned, glancing at Princess Althea, who remained calm despite the earlier chaos. Your daughter is brave, the queen said to herself. But she walks a dangerous path. If she fails, this alliance, and possibly both our civilizations, could be destroyed. Althea, listening carefully from her secure location, knew the queen's concern was genuine. She also knew that to stop Vexthar, she needed Daniel's courage, intelligence, and loyalty. Plans in motion, using the old transport tunnels, Daniel and Althea moved swiftly and silently beneath the palace. Althea pointed out access points and security measures. Most are deactivated or rarely used. We'll reach the queen without alerting the council. Daniel grinned. I didn't know diplomacy involved this much sneaking around. She laughed softly. Diplomacy sometimes requires courage and creativity, especially when your enemy is within. As they approached the palace chambers, Daniel felt a strange mix of fear and determination. If Thar succeeds, he said, it won't just be a battle for one city. It could be a war across stars. Althea's expression hardened. Then we cannot fail. The risk of discovery. Just before reaching the hidden exit leading into the queen's chambers, shadows moved ahead. Daniel pressed Althea behind a wall. Two armed guards passed, speaking in a language he didn't understand. Their weapons glowed faintly and their movements were sharp and precise. Daniel whispered, we need to wait until they pass. Althea nodded, holding her breath. After tense moments, the guards moved on. They slipped through the final doorway and emerged in a quiet corridor near the queen's private chambers. Daniel looked at her. We're close. Once we reach her, we have to act fast and present this evidence. There's no time for hesitation. Althea glanced at him. I trust you, Daniel. If anyone can convince the queen, it's you. He nodded. And I trust you. Let's hope your people see the truth before it's too late. Closing of Part 3 in the shadows of the palace. Far below the grandeur of crystal towers, two unlikely allies prepared to confront a conspiracy that threatened not just the Zitherus Empire, but the future of Earth as well. One wrong move could cost them everything. One bold choice could save millions of lives and forge a bond between two civilizations. As the tunnels hummed softly beneath their feet, Daniel and Althea stepped forward, united by purpose, courage, and a shared determination to stop Vexthar before it was too late. The battle for trust, loyalty, and survival had just begun. The grand halls of the palace were quiet for once, save for the soft hum of energy fields that kept the crystal towers stable. Captain Daniel Cross and Princess Althea had been escorted to a private chamber by loyal palace guards. The evidence of Commander Vexthar's conspiracy lay before Queen Zirana on a floating holographic display. The queen's expression was unreadable, her tall form casting a long shadow across the chamber. Daniel felt her piercing gaze weighing him as though he were made of crystal too. You risked much to bring me this truth, she said. Her voice carried authority, but a hint of uncertainty lingered. And yet some among my council doubt you. They question your loyalty to this empire and to the alliance. Daniel bowed slightly. Your Majesty, my loyalty is to peace. I seek only to protect both our peoples. The queen remained silent for a moment. Then she spoke decisively. Words are not enough. You will undergo the trial of loyalty. Only then will my council believe your intentions. Daniel's stomach tightened. Trial of loyalty? It is an ancient test, the queen explained. It measures honesty, courage, and the ability to understand our ways. You will enter the chamber of resonance where your mind and spirit will be challenged. Althea stepped closer. I can help you. I know the rituals, the sequences, the tests, but you must trust me, Daniel nodded. I do. Let's prepare. Preparation for the trial. Althea guided Daniel to the hall of resonance, a circular chamber lined with reflective crystal walls. The center of the room held a raised platform pulsing with a soft golden light. Symbols flickered across the walls, patterns that seemed to shift as Daniel moved his eyes. This chamber adapts to the person, Althea explained. It can show visions of your fears, your memories, even your deepest intentions. You must remain honest and calm. Any deception, hesitation, or weakness will be magnified. Daniel studied the symbols carefully. And what happens if I fail? Althea shook her head. No one knows for sure. But failure could disgrace the Alliance and possibly put both of us in danger. The morning light over Zytheria Prime was cold and sharp, reflecting off the crystal towers and painting the streets in pale gold. Captain Daniel Cross and Princess Althea moved quickly through the palace corridors, their footsteps almost silent. The chaos of the sabotage had passed, but the danger was far from over. Commander Vex Thar remained a threat, cunning, ruthless, and determined to undermine the Alliance. We need to act fast, Daniel whispered. If Thar consolidates his power, we could lose everything. Althea nodded. I have contacts among the scientists and some junior officers who oppose him. They're ready to help, but we have to move carefully. One wrong step and we could be trapped. Together, they made their way to a hidden chamber deep within the palace. The walls glowed faintly, a soft reflection of bioluminescent streams nearby. Inside, a small group of trusted allies waited. Each face showed determination, tempered by worry. Daniel addressed them quietly. We know Thar is planning something bigger. We have to expose him to the Queen and stop his rebellion before it reaches the Council. We need a plan that protects everyone and proves the truth. One of the officers, a young scientist named Lyra, stepped forward. We've gathered data from the fleet and intercepted Thar's secret orders. He plans to mobilize ships to attack Earth, using your supposed marriage alliance as an excuse. If he succeeds, both civilizations could be at war. Daniel's jaw tightened. Then we act tonight. We go straight to the fleet control centers and reveal the evidence. Gathering support, Althea led Daniel and the team through secret corridors and maintenance tunnels. The walls pulsed softly with energy, casting shifting shadows. They passed through lower districts rarely seen by the general population, where loyal factions were ready to aid them. The engineers and pilots who remain loyal will help us navigate the fleet controls, Althea explained. They've been waiting for a chance to act. As they reached the control hub, Daniel glanced at Althea. You trust them? Yes, she replied. They want peace as much as you do. That is why we must succeed. Inside the hub, screens and consoles glowed with streams of star charts and fleet movements. The team moved quickly, inputting codes and intercepting Thar's communications. Every second mattered. Thar's challenge suddenly, an alert sounded. Thar's forces had detected unauthorized access in the fleet network. Red warning lights flashed across the consoles. Daniel swore under his breath. They're on to us. We need to act now. Althea's fingers flew over the control panel. If we broadcast the evidence to the Queen and the Council, it will show Thar's betrayal. But we must protect the transmission until it reaches them. Daniel nodded. Then let's do it. They sent the data streams to the Queen's private channels. Immediately, holographic images of Thar's secret orders appeared across the Council chambers. Messages of his fleet movements and plans to attack Earth were projected for all to see. The battle begins. Thar realized his plan was exposed. He arrived at the fleet command center with loyal guards, his face set in anger. You cannot stop what is already in motion, he shouted. Daniel stepped forward. We already have. Your orders are public. Your betrayal is clear. The Queen knows the truth. Thar's eyes narrowed. You may have delayed me, human, but this isn't over. The battle was not of blasters and fire. Instead, it was a tactical confrontation of wit and strategy. Daniel and Althea coordinated loyal officers, redirecting fleet movements, locking down unauthorized ships, and isolating Thar's supporters. Thar tried to mobilize a strike, but the Loyalists moved quickly, intercepting his commands. Ships paused mid-flight and communications were cut. The rebellion began to crumble. Althea's bravery as the confrontation escalated. Althea moved among the officers, giving instructions, calming panicked crew members, and directing critical operations. Her calm, intelligent guidance kept the team focused. Daniel, she said, the ships under his command are trying to override our controls. You must intervene, Daniel nodded. He accessed the main console, using both his Earth-trained logic and the knowledge Althea had given him. With precise timing, he rerouted power and regained control of the fleet. Thar's rebellion was faltering. The palace forces, now aware of his treachery, moved quickly to secure the council chambers. Daniel and Althea watched as the traitor's network of control began to collapse. The confrontation with Tharthar, realizing defeat was imminent, tried one last move. A desperate attempt to escape and take command of a small fleet outside the capital. Daniel and Althea followed him to the docking bays. The corridor was tense. Guards loyal to the Queen blocked the exits while Thar moved quickly, his energy weapon ready. "You may win today, human," Thar snarled, "but the Zitherus will always see you as an outsider. You cannot change that." Daniel raised his hands, calm but firm. "It's not about changing anyone. It's about saving lives, yours included if you surrender." Thar hesitated. He looked around at the superior numbers of loyal guards, the controlled fleet and the humans and Zitherus working together. Slowly, he lowered his weapon. Althea stepped forward. "It's over, Thar. Surrender now and face justice." He gave a bitter laugh. "Justice? I served my empire. And yet—" His shoulders slumped. He realized he had miscalculated victory and relief. With Thar's surrender, the immediate threat ended. Daniel and Althea stood side by side, watching as loyal forces secured the fleet and neutralized remaining resistance. The Queen arrived at the control center, her presence commanding immediate respect. She studied the evidence of Thar's betrayal and looked at Daniel and Althea. "You have done well," she said. "Your courage and wisdom have prevented disaster. The alliance is safe for now." Althea bowed slightly. "We could not have done it without him," Daniel nodded. "We only acted together." The Queen's eyes softened as she regarded them both. "Perhaps this alliance has more potential than I imagined. Humanity and Zitherus, working together, may yet achieve great things." Rebuilding trust with the rebellion quelled, Daniel and Althea helped coordinate the restoration of the fleet and communication networks. Officers and scientists who had remained loyal now began to gain confidence. Citizens returned to their routines, reassured that their leaders were strong and decisive. Daniel took a moment to speak privately with Althea. "You were incredible today. Your people are lucky to have you." Althea smiled faintly. "And I am lucky to have you. I never thought a human could navigate Zitherian systems and politics so effectively." He chuckled. "Well, I didn't either, but here we are. Looks like we make a good team," she nodded. "A team for peace. Hope for the future." That night, Daniel and Althea stood on a balcony overlooking the capital. The city's crystal towers reflected the moons above, glowing softly in the quiet night. "We've won this battle," Daniel said, "but the war for trust, understanding, and true alliance has only begun." Althea looked at him with determination. "Then we continue together. Earth and Zitherus must learn to see each other as equals, and perhaps in time as friends." Daniel smiled. "I like that idea. Friends, allies, maybe even more." Althea laughed softly. "For now, let's focus on peace." They stood side by side looking out over the glowing city. The rebellion was over, but the journey of unity and understanding had only just begun. Two civilizations, once strangers, now had the chance to grow stronger together, guided by courage, intelligence, and trust. The stars above reflected their hope, and the promise of a new era glimmered like the crystal towers of Zitheria Prime. The morning light bathed the crystal towers of Zitheria Prime in soft gold. The city, once tense with fear and suspicion, now pulsed with cautious hope. Captain Daniel Cross and Princess Althea moved through the palace corridors with purpose. The rebellion led by Commander Vex Thar had been quelled, and now it was time to solidify the fragile peace. Queen Zirana awaited them in the Grand Hall, the seat of the High Council. She rose from her throne as they entered, her regal presence commanding respect. The council members, still wary but attentive, observed Daniel and Althea closely. "Captain Cross," the Queen began, her voice steady, "you have proven your loyalty, your courage, and your wisdom, and Princess Althea has shown that courage is not limited to a single species. Together you have prevented war and preserved the future of both our peoples." Daniel bowed. "Your Majesty, I only acted to protect life and ensure peace. It is an honor to serve as a bridge between our civilizations." Althea stepped forward. "We have faced challenges and deception, but we have learned that trust must be earned through action, not words alone. That is what our alliance will be built upon." The council's approval, the council murmured among themselves. After a tense moment, the head of the council stood. "The captain has passed the trial of loyalty. The evidence against Thar is clear. His rebellion has been stopped. The alliance is secure and we accept it fully. Other council members nodded in agreement. The unity of Zetheris and humanity is now undeniable, one said. We will move forward with this alliance. Daniel allowed himself a small smile. The tension in the hall eased, replaced with cautious optimism. He glanced at Althea, who gave him a reassuring nod. Queen Zirana turned to them both. This ceremony will not only mark an alliance, but a commitment to mutual understanding. Captain Cross, Princess Althea, you will stand together before both our peoples as symbols of unity. The ceremony of union. The ceremony took place lying.